Welcome to Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial, the home for financial advice in a language you can understand. Created by Marc Freedman of Freedman Financial, he and his team of certified financial planner professionals will discuss timely topics that help individuals and families make smart financial decisions. And now, get ready for this week's edition of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial.
Welcome back to another edition of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial. My name is Marc Freedman.
And I'm Marion Gilman.
And we're here to provide you with some financial advice in a language you can understand.
Yes, we do this each and every week. We come to you and we talk about, again, all types of financial issues, not necessarily just investing.
Yeah, so today actually was kind of an interesting day. We had a photo shoot here at the office. We've got some new pictures that are coming up on our website. Some new poses, some new different things. We had all different outfits to wear. We had a nice photographer here.
And we pretended to even do a podcast so they could take photos of us.
They
so
actually
there you
did.
go.
Yeah, so you'd think they'd just do one while we're doing it live.
Yeah, no.
But no, we had to fake it. Fake it to make it, I guess. And,
there you go.
You know, all of these new pictures are leading up to some big announcements that we're going to be rolling out in the months to come. And
Very
so
exciting.
stay tuned for those. But, you know, here we are. Coming to the end of July, heading to the 250th end of June. End of June, thank you.
Coming up on July 4th.
July 4th, the 250th anniversary of this country.
It's really exciting.
It is. You know, I'm actually noticing more people with American flags flying outside, red, white, and blue stuff. And I'll tell you, if I would have never expected this, but the World Cup, I think, has actually brought some appreciation of America to the world.
And, you know, particularly in Boston, because we are based just north of Boston. So we had the Scottish team here.
The Tartan Army was here.
The Tartan Army was here. And honestly, they were so appreciative. They loved Boston. I actually heard, I forget where the next stop was, but...
Oh, they went to Miami after that.
They weren't as welcoming in Miami as the Bostonians were. Of course, they came, they drank all of our beer.
We ran out. We ran out.
And, you know, I heard one commentator say, who would have ever thought the Scots could outdrink Boston other than
on St. Patrick's Day,
right? Outdrink St. Patrick's Day in Boston.
And they did. And, you know, I'm seeing all sorts of news reports of people from all around the world. And, you know, basically the world has come here to America to cheer on the World Cup. And it's a sport I have never, ever followed. But frankly, I've been enjoying watching it. We have it up here on in the office.
And we've all been listening to all the reports of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, the American team's been doing pretty well, and we're learning a lot. I still don't understand this offsides rule, but I'll get there. There's a lot of things I don't understand about soccer, or football, as they call it, but it's been interesting. But I think the tourists, those that have come here, they're seeing a lot of stuff, and for many of them, it's their first time here in America, seeing things that they've never, ever experienced in their home communities. I mean, you can go on down the line. Certainly, portions are larger. Right?
True.
Everything is...
Our let's say Costco, but just in general, our grocery stores are enormous.
But when you go out for dinner, just the portions of everything are larger.
Yes.
We have, you know, unlimited refills on soda and water. And yes, it's a bit more expensive for certain things, but everything is bigger. And, you know, to me, I think when we travel to Texas, that's where everything is big. But
I don't think they've been to Texas.
No, well, there's a couple games in Texas, but
not yet, right?
But still, I mean, they've seen ribs, they've seen all different types of food, and they're amazed that many states have their own specialty foods. They just thought America was America, and it's really been giving some nice appreciation for what we have, because I think there have been a lot of perspectives by people all around the world that America might be a bit more arrogant, that we might come across that way, louder than we are, and yeah, we're pretty loud, but just not the most friendly people either. And I think people are getting a different opinion. And I think that's great.
And, you know, they are also viewing us as individuals, not as a group, I think, as well. So they can look and say, well, you know what? There are a lot of very nice Americans. So the perception they might have of the country in general is very different than, let's say, the welcome that they got in Boston by individuals.
I remember when I was traveling in a music group in the mid 80s, and I was over in Europe for a few months. And at the time, the television show Dallas was very popular. Remember the show Dallas?
Yes, of course.
And every place I would go in Europe, people would say, "Do you know JR?" And I was just like, why would I know? It's just like I didn't know who the $6 million man was, or anybody else. But they all thought that we must know these people because they don't realize how big this country is compared to the countries from where they live.
Shot JR?
Maybe they did ask me that too.
Do you remember the Who Shot
Well,
JR?
the thing is I kind of wasn't old enough to remember. I don't think my parents actually let me watch Dallas. It was on too late. But you know, but there are the reason that we're bringing this up is there are so many myths about what people think of us, and frankly, what we think of others. We create our own myths about politics,
and
about economics.
And we generalize.
Yes, we generalize. And a lot of these myths are oftentimes based upon the region where we live, the friends with whom we hang out, the messages we get through social media, whatever it might be. And these myths have to be broken. And so if you follow us on LinkedIn, Freedman Financial on LinkedIn, you would have seen a post that we put up this week called 6 Money Myths that might limit people's thoughts on planning for wealth. And so we thought we'd kind of quickly go through them.
And they're very important in planning for your future. So the first myth is investing in the stock market is too risky. What would you say to that?
Well, first, I want to understand, what does risk mean to you?
And we learned this the hard way, I think, because everybody told us that their ability to take risk, and from the tests we gave and all, seemed like, oh yeah, all these people are willing to take on risk. And in 2008 and 2009, when the market plummeted, we found that maybe not everyone is willing to take on the type of risk that they thought they were willing to take on.
Well, but also, some people think risk means losing everything.
Correct.
But they also don't see risk as making money. They only see risk as the fear part, one-sided part of it.
Right.
And I was talking with a client this week, actually, and he asked me how we decide what someone's risk tolerance might be when we're putting together a portfolio. And he wanted to know what risk tolerance software or surveys or checklists we might use. And I said, I think all of them are junk.
They are. Because
your risk tolerance is, if you were filling out a form, is based upon how you're feeling today, what the economic climate is like, what's going on in your life. What you really need to understand is what kind of risk can you assume based upon everything in your overall life. And that isn't captured on a 12-question questionnaire. You need to have a better conversation.
And there are a lot of factors that go into that. The stock market is too risky. You want to look at, in terms of, what are you going to do? Keep all your money under your mattress? What does that look like later on? You also need to plan for your future and weigh the risk, as opposed to just saying, here's risk. You need to weigh it.
Yeah, and I remember starting in this business, Marion, where people would say, well, my parents were depression babies and my grandparents were depression babies, so I'm always worried about that. We are starting to see people come out of that. They don't remember their parents or their grandparents being part of depressions, but they do remember some challenging times in their lives. And people still hear stories and they wonder, and there's a lot of, I hate to use the term, old wives' tales, just for lack of a cliche. I mean, it's a lousy cliche. We have to think differently, and what we do in our business is really help people understand, what is it that risk really means in your life.
That's right. And what type of risk are you taking?
Yeah. Well, here's another myth that's out there, is that when you retire, you will be in a lower tax bracket.
Ooh, that's really an interesting myth.
Now, I will tell you, if you retired in the 60s or 70s, that was probably true. Right. But that's a myth that is carried now almost 50 years later. The reality, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, in the 60s and 70s, there was no such thing as a 401k.
Right. Right. You lived on a fixed income.
That's correct.
And that was it. You didn't have all of these resources.
right.
I mean, today, many people's wealth is collected in their 401k, in their
That's
IRAs,
right.
or in their investment accounts. And on top of that, the value of their home might even double that wealth. And that
Correct.
home is something that you're not utilizing for cash. But when you start to take money out of your accounts, whenever you choose to draw on them,
Right.
you can absolutely find yourself in a higher tax bracket.
There's no question. And, back in the day, if you probably had a pension and Social Security, so you couldn't control any of that. 401ks you can control, and but however, at a certain point, you've got to take more money out than you might have ever seen before in your life.
Yeah, well, I'm going to ask you to pick one more because we're running out of time, but
Oh,
I'm going
my
to throw
goodness,
up one
already?
other thought here. So one of the things that's interesting, when you retire, you usually have choices from where you can take money from. You can take
Right.
it from the bank. You can take it from a personal investment account, an IRA, a Roth. Maybe you have a pension and Social Security. How do you know which one to take it from? Because, yeah, you may be in a higher tax bracket in periods of time in retirement, but how do you manage it so you smooth out the tax liability? And that's something that we do
That's
on a very
right.
regular basis.
That's right. And that's unique to the individual.
Yeah.
So you can't just generalize about that.
So what's one more myth, Marion?
So I would look at the last myth on this list is it's impossible to know today how much money you will need to retire. So how does anyone plan for retirement if it's impossible to know?
Well, there was a book that's put out. In fact, it's probably behind me here on the bookshelf somewhere, called The Number.
I remember that
Right.
book vividly.
There was a book that came out, and I don't remember. There was the, I think it was ING at the time. I don't know. I think they might be called
ING
Voya
is
now.
Yeah, that was a company, a
Right.
mutual
A
fund
mutual fund
company.
company and an annuity company. And they did this ad where people were walking around with this bubble over their heads that showed how much money they had and how much money they would need to retire.
1.5 million,
Yeah,
2 million.
because everyone says, well, I need $2 million, I need $3 million, I need $1 million.
Yeah.
The answer, absolutely, for everybody is very simple. It's two words. And what are they, Marion?
It depends.
That's right. You thought I was going to stump her, right? She knows. It depends.
I know.
Because we have clients that can retire on $2,000 a month and others that couldn't imagine spending less than $40,000 a month.
And I think it's true. It's impossible to know exactly how much you need to retire. However, you can make a pretty good estimate of what you need to create an income stream that's appropriate for your situation. It takes time, it takes some work, but you are able to do that and at least come up with a plan so you're comfortable with retirement.
And that's what we call financial advice in a language you can understand. If now's the time to get serious about your financial planning and investment management needs, we'd be delighted to help you. Our phone number, 978-531-8108. That's 978-531-8108. Or visit us on the web where you can sign up for our newsletter, get information on who we are, the fees we charge, the types of clients we serve, all of that great stuff. Go to freedmanfinancial.com. That's Freedman.
2 E's and a D.
Financial.com. Go to the bottom of any page and do sign up for our newsletter. You can put in your name, your email address, and you will join those 7,000 to 8,000, I don't even know what the number is, subscribers that get our newsletter every Friday, 10:30 in the morning. That's going to do it for us this week. Have a wonderful week, everybody, and see you again for more Dollars and Cents next week.
Enjoy.
During today's episode of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial, your host may have discussed specific financial planning and investment ideas that are for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations. Please remember that investing involves risk and may include loss of principal. Always consult a certified financial planner professional, qualified attorney, or tax advisor prior to investing to determine what is appropriate for you. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA, SIPC.